Hello, craft beer friends, and welcome to Season 8, Episode 14 of Tap to Craft Podcast. I am Danny Lewis, coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the dog whisperer, and my favorite Florida man, also known as Drinking Eagle from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. How you doing tonight, Chris? And of course, what is in your glass?
Well, Denny, I'm having a lovely day. As I always tell you, Mondays are one of my days off now, so it's been a nice day catching up on some errands. I went and got some propane tanks filled today. Manly stuff, right?
Nice.
Yeah, but it's been a good day. A little chilly here in Tampa. Woke up.
I heard that.
There was frost on the ground, guys.
Oh, wow. How long has it been since that's happened?
Last winter or last January. Yeah, it was basically the end of days until about 9:30 when it hit about 40 degrees. But yeah, everybody's a little nervous. I saw a few people on Facebook making some frost snowmen.
Oh boy,
some other
those have been really
small
snowmen.
Look, it's not the size; it's just the fact that we made snowmen.
It's not the size that matters.
That's right. In my glass this evening, guess what? I'm not even drinking it out of a glass, but I'm drinking a beer from Mikkeller Brewing Company, or as they're calling it on this label, House Mikkeller, because I'm drinking a Night King Double IPA.
Oh, nice. The Night King.
For any of those familiar and fans of Game of Thrones, it's related to that one. But their Night King Double IPA, it's a little peppery. No peppers in it, but a little peppery. And some tropical fruits in there too, which is really nice. But I'm really enjoying this one. It's clocking in at 8.2%. And there's probably going to be some photos or something on it with, Instagram and all that good stuff. But so what about you, Denny? What's in your glass this evening? And of course, how are you doing?
Well, I just got back from the dentist and getting my cleaning. My teeth are healthy, although I do need to go check a tooth out for when my crown might be time to get that crown replaced with a root canal. So that's never fun.
Which everybody loves.
Yeah. So I'll have to schedule that still, but I'm doing well. My teeth are in good, healthy. Besides that one little problem, and this is a tooth that's been bothering me for like 10 or 12 years. I mean, it's not like it's just something that came up and
10 or 12 years it's been bothering you.
Yeah. I've gone through two. I had a cap on it before. Then I got then something didn't go right with that, so they put a crown on it. Because I guess I don't know what the difference between a crown and a cap is, but obviously money-wise, it was more expensive for the crown. And they didn't need to do a root canal when I put the crown on. They checked and said, nope, you're good. No root canal needed. And so I got the crown put on, and then now 5 or 6, I lose track of time. It could have been 7 years I could have had this crown. I don't know. But now they're saying, well, you know what? It's looking like some shadowing on that root. You might need to get this thing checked out and might need a root canal. And honestly, I'd rather get it done earlier than later because by the time it really goes bad, then it's kind of it could take a few days to get in, and I don't want to pay for emergency root canal.
Yeah, that's fair.
That would be good. So I'll do that, but yeah, I'm doing good. Good.
I'm sure you know what a crown is. This is a cap. So this is a cap. This is definitely going to be a little less expensive than an actual crown because gold, jewels, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So what I'm drinking though, on the way home from the dentist, I picked up, I said, you know what, I need some beer to drink on the show. And I found something I hadn't had before. It's from Fremont Brewing. And it's a Baxter cold IPA. Remember we talked about cold IPAs before? Yeah. This is one of those cold IPAs. And I just took my first sips of it when I opened it. My first beer of the night. And it's really good. It's very crisp. It's like a how Pilsners can be very crisp and with that bitterness and really dry. This is a really dry, crisp, clean, citrusy, flavorful, but not heavy. More on the lighter side of body. IPA. I'm really enjoying it. I bought a 6-pack, so I'm going to drink 2 tonight. I only brought 2 up because I'm trying to, I don't do dry January, but I do try to, moderate myself. And I
Okay.
did have a weekend full of drinking, so I needed to kind of tone it down this week.
The question I have for you though is, and I'm always glad to hear you're doing well, but how are you feeling? Are you back to normal since the
Yeah,
last
pretty
time we were
much.
talking?
Yeah. Um, yeah, we didn't mention it on the air. I mentioned to you, Chris, but yeah, the week before Christmas, the old COVID hit our house. My grandson brought it to us, and that's the one week. That was the one weak spot in our whole plan is we can
Yeah.
try to do everything we can to keep it back, and we did. We kept it back for a long time, but unless you want to give up those intimate moment. I mean, intimate. I don't mean intimate, but those
Close moments with your
close moments
family.
with your
Yeah.
family. It's a risk you take. And sure enough, the weekend before Christmas, yeah, it hit me. It hit my wife Sarah a couple days later, and then it hit my daughter a couple days after that. Um, but I feel pretty good. I didn't lose my taste or smell. I pretty much was just I will say that it did hit my chest pretty heavily. It shocked me how it affected my chest. I'm coughing up. I'll be fine with my breathing and everything, and all of a sudden I'll cough up a phlegm ball from my deep in my chest. So whatever's going on with the COVID in there, right? It definitely is real. It really affects your chest, and I'm just lucky that I did get vaccinated, and I didn't. I mean, maybe if I wouldn't have, it would have hit me harder, and I would have, had to go into the hospital or whatever. But it didn't, and it didn't hit Sarah that hard. Just mostly fatigue, body aches for her. She did lose her taste and smell. I didn't lose mine. I did have. I do. I I did have a metallic or alkaline, like flavor in my mouth
Hmm.
for a long time. In fact, this week was, or I think this last weekend was the first weekend I lost that metallic flavor, which is good because that kind of it's not good to taste that.
No. And it's funny that, and I guess it's not funny, but as soon as you told me that you got it over Christmas and then it kind of ran through the family, I just kept
Mm.
picturing that scene from Christmas Vacation where cousin Eddie goes, Clark, that's the gift that keeps on giving the
Yeah.
whole year round.
Yeah.
It's no
Yeah.
jelly of the month club, but hey.
Yeah. Yeah. True. True. Yeah. This is yeah. But the good news is, like I said, it didn't it didn't hurt Sarah and I severely. Just mainly just fatigue, and I mean we did have some weird like I had trouble sleeping when I had it. And that's one of the things I've heard from other people is that it really it kind of affects their sleep, right?
Yeah.
I struggle with sleep. I always struggle with sleep, but it was worse with the virus going through. But I feel right now I feel pretty good. I think I was still a little bit tired last week. I just get wore out quicker. I think this weekend I relaxed. I did go drinking with my buddy Alex. We'll talk about here in a little bit. Um, and it was quite a we went to this spot in Ontario, and I got to try some beers I've been wanting to try for a while. And we weren't planning on drinking as much, but yeah, we drank a few beers.
I mean, good.
It was good. It was a good time. I came basically, and then we got home. I just kind of I ate dinner, and then I think I fell asleep on the couch at 7 o'clock, and Sarah woke me up at 10 to go to bed. It was one of those nights.
Yeah, sometimes your body
But
just needs it.
yeah, yeah, but no, I'm doing good. Thanks for asking,
Good,
Chris.
good.
I look okay, right? I don't look like I'm
I
dying.
mean, I didn't know you were ill until you brought it to my
Yeah,
attention.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. But again, that's why it's positive. 2022 is our positive year.
mm-hmm.
You know, we had a couple downers. I tried not to let the COVID over Christmas and New Year's, kill us off, make us too depressed. I still had the duties of cooking Christmas dinner, but this time because Sarah got really sick on our anniversary, so we missed our anniversary too because we were both sick, and then she was basically in bed for 2 days, and then Christmas Day she finally came out, was able to get out of bed, um, and but I was left to do all the cooking. Normally I just cook whatever ham, we
Mm-hmm.
make a real ham, not a you know not a pre-cooked one, so I have that. But and this time, um, she accidentally bought a lamb, a lamb. What was it called again? A lamb leg, lamb. It's
Yeah, it
the
was a leg of lamb.
no, not lamb. Sorry,
Pork.
pork leg. It's
Okay.
before it gets cured and becomes ham.
Uh-huh.
And I'd never cooked one before, and it's not the same as cooking the ham because it's a different. It's the same meat, but it's not cured, so it's not
Mm-hmm.
as
So a
the
lot more
same.
moisture in there.
Yeah, it was moist. It was more moist. I will say that, and it turned out well. But I just didn't know about the cooking times, right? Because I had everything down for my ham, but now I got to cook some other piece of meat that looked a lot different than the ham because it had the whole bone in there,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a leg, and it was expensive. It was like $65 for this leg, which was way more than I really wanted to pay for a piece of meat. but but yeah, so I cooked that. Plus, I had to cook all the rest of the stuff to go along with it. But I did good. Yeah, I made it through it. I was pretty wore out afterwards, but it was a good meal.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that got me with COVID was that everything I did just made me tired.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, we definitely got sidetracked there, Chris.
Didn't we though?
Yeah,
Hey,
we
let's
should get back to beer.
let's talk about beer. Yeah. Beer sounds like a better idea.
Okay, let's get to the beer. But before we get into the good beer talk, I always want to let anyone new listening to Tap to Craft podcast know what we are all about. We are an educational podcast, and we like to focus around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to assist you, our listener, along in your craft beer journey and adventures. And you're listening to episode 195. We're recording on Monday, January 24th, 2022. And yes, we are live on Facebook. So if you would like to join us during our recording session, you can do that. Just ch- tune in to Facebook and wait for our Facebook Live post that we will be posting on Mondays before the episode releases. And if you don't remember that, just go to our or to our website, and there's a link at the bottom, or there's a calendar at the bottom of the page with our recording schedule. So find out when we're recording and join us on Facebook Live. Ask your questions or whatever you like to do.
Yeah,
We
let's do
enjoy it.
that.
Yeah. And in this episode, we are going to discuss more information about foeders. If you remember from last episode, our good listener Eric Gronley sent us a link to an article that was all about the foeder, and we talked really briefly about what a foeder was, and now we're going to go into more detail about the foeder, how it's made, and the beers that are typically produced in a foeder, and why those beers, why brew a beer or ferment a beer in a foeder, and what characteristics will it give to those beers that you do brew or ferment in a foeder. So great topic. It's a little bit long topic, so Chris and I will be talking quite a bit through here. Um, I don't have any. I only have experience drinking beers that were made in a foeder, and I can talk a little bit about some of those beers. And I do have a list of beers we'll be talking about that you can find in your local area that are made with a foeder. If one of them you can find. I know there's a couple from Chris's location, a couple in the Midwest, and maybe one or two in the Pacific Coast area as well. And of course, you can count on Chris and I having some great conversation along the way. Now, before we get started, also Chris and I would like to thank all of our Patreon supporters. This episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, Bill Schlemmer, and Amanda and Kevin Argauer, who are our virtual producers, and Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlsel, Chad Lamassa, Mark Church, Matt Knight, and Eric Gronley, who want to buy us a virtual beer. If you enjoy the content we provide, we invite you to support the show by toasting your host or buying us a virtual beer or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. Okay, Chris, we had some feedback
Mm-hmm.
from the last show. And before we get into the feedback, here's what we'll do. I'm going to give a little update. And again, the update is just coming off of something I saw the day after we recorded the last show. We talked about the Shoots Brewery being my favorite brewery, and also one that Chris really enjoys. And I mentioned how they had some property over in Roanoke, Virginia, that they were planning on opening up another brewery there. Well, the day after we recorded and we mentioned all this stuff to you guys, they announced that they are pulling out of Virginia, closed down the tap room. That is no longer going to, to come to fruition. So I I'm really sad to hear that because I was hoping that the shoots would eventually make it out to the East Coast, whether it was still called the shoots or if they called it something else, whatever they might do, they might, have a presence out there. But it sadly is not going to happen, at least not anytime soon. So that's the update I wanted to give. Did you
Hey,
hear about that?
I didn't get to read too much into it. I mean, but again, we had Deschutes all the way as far as Ohio
Mm-hmm.
when we
Yeah.
lived there. I mean, and strong supply in Ohio. So,
Mm-hmm.
eh, I mean, maybe they just don't necessarily need another facility on the East Coast to get it done, but
Yeah.
it would have been
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. I'm hoping that maybe they're planning on trying to broaden their distribution because if you get the beer out to more places that haven't experienced it, you might gain some of those new customers and you can keep your production going, right? Because I have, like I mentioned before, the ones that are hurt the hardest during this growth of craft beer are the regional breweries, the ones that have been producing these big amounts of beer. And now that everything's gone hyper local, those breweries are really suffering because people aren't going and buying the beer because now they have stuff they can buy right in their hometown or even down the street from where they live, and they'd rather support local. So I think it's a good idea to, yeah, go ahead and widen that distribution and get that beer out to to more places down south and in Florida for sure.
They
Okay.
distribute to a lot more states than I realized, but they make it all the way down to North Carolina.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, Deschutes.
Yeah. You're almost there. It's almost there. Okay. So, Chris, since I have just been chatting away, I'm going to let you handle uh, Eric Gronley's
Okay.
email that he sent us.
So Eric Gronley sent us an email, and it was also mentioned by a couple of other people. And he said, "But big news on the Canarchy front, and I have a bone to pick with you and Chris regarding Indeed and the Minneapolis mix-up. Whenever you're ready, Eric, come down here. You can talk to me personally about it." Okay. Keep up the great work, guys. Cheers to 2022. And he put up an article talking about how Monster Beverage acquires Canarchy for $300 million. Now, we're just going to kind of this link will be up in the show notes too, I'd imagine, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So definitely can get into that a little further. But here's the snippet that we took out. That energy drink company Monster Beverage Corp announced on Thursday, January 13th, that it's entering the alcoholic beverage business through an agreement to buy craft beer and hard seltzer company Canarchy Craft Brewery Collective, LLC, for $330 million in cash.
Okay, let's stop there. Now, does $330 million, does that sound like a lot or does it sound like a little to you?
For what they acquired, no, it does not sound like a lot.
Yes.
It
Okay,
sounds
good.
like a steal.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like a steal. Okay, so now we can go on.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And that was me too. I was like, wow, that seems a little undervalued. The deal, which is expected to close in the first quarter of 2022, will bring Cigar City, Oscar Blues, Deep Ellum, Perrin Brewing, Squatters,
Yep.
and
And
Wasatch. Those brands will be brought into the Monster portfolio. This transaction, and this is a quote from the article, this transaction provides us with a springboard from which to enter the alcoholic beverage sector, said Monster co-chief executive Hilton Schlossberg. The acquisition will provide us with a fully in-place infrastructure, including people, distribution, and licenses, along with alcoholic beverage development expertise and manufacturing capabilities in this industry.
Yeah. So, um, the
I'm
last two
nervous
you,
about this one.
well, it's interesting because, for one thing, Cigar City and Oscar Blues are big breweries.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Blues, I think part of the reason they were going with this route is that Oscar Blues is already producing hard seltzer with
So
their
is Cigar
Wild
City.
Basin. Oh, is Cigar City doing it? But
Yep.
is it doing in like mass production though?
Oh
Like
yeah. I mean, you can go to any store around us, go buy a 12 pack of it, and it's
okay,
4 mixed flavors. Um,
okay.
Megan buys it every once in a while.
And it's Cigar City brand or is it
Yep.
Wild Basin? Okay,
Nope.
so they have
It's
two
Cigar City
different
brand.
brands, and I think Monster. I'm guessing they're wanting to get into this hard seltzer market that try to diversify their portfolio with their Monster drinks or whatever they do. I don't know. I don't drink any of that stuff, so I don't know what it is. But so I think that was the key, and then as a side thing, they've got uh, I don't know if what they realize, they got a lot of different breweries here. So the Squatters and the Wasatch are two Utah breweries. Those are big.
Mm-hmm.
They were part of a Utah Brewers Alliance or something like that, where they kind of went in together and at one point, I think it was like 5 years ago or so, maybe it was longer. I didn't know what happened until I saw that they had like linked together. I saw some other article that showed that they were now the same brewery. They were two different breweries, but they worked together like a co-op.
Right.
And so those are big breweries that makes some pretty good beers. I enjoy those breweries. So those are lesser known ones. Talk about other lesser known ones. I never heard of Perrin Brewing,
So
and
we
I
get
never heard of
pairing.
Deep Ellum Brewing. So those are two ones I never even heard of before. So and maybe again those are part of maybe they were part of the same alliance that was started by with Squatters and Wasatch. But the big ones, of course, are Cigar City and Dale and Oscar Blues. I think those
Yeah.
are. I mean, it's really good, and it shows that the market out there for acquiring breweries has really shrunk down in as far as the amount you're going to pay for it, right? You after Constellation got their butts handed to them a long time ago when they, you know, got sold it for $1 billion to get um crap. I can't even think of the damn brewery. What was the name of the brewery that they
Ballast
acquired?
Point.
Was it Ballast Point? Yeah, I think it was
We're talking
Ballast Point.
Constellation, right?
Constellation brand, yeah.
No, they picked up Funky Buddha.
Well, and Funky Buddha, but I think they also did. I think they were the ones that did the Ballast Point, yeah. But they overpaid like a lot,
Yeah, that
like
was Ballast Point because they paid $1
yeah,
billion for it.
yeah, $1 billion. Which in reality, I mean, it was probably a lot. I mean, like 15% of they paid way over. They should have paid maybe about 130, 150 million dollars for it, and they paid 1 billion. That's a big markup that they didn't realize because they ended up selling the whole thing for like 160 million, I think, or
Mm.
something like that. I mean, it just yeah, it was just bad. So you and I both, our first thought was 330. That seems like really low when we're seeing that other breweries are being bought out for that amount for one brewery, and now they just bought all these breweries and the hard, these big hard seltzer lines. Um, it seems like a steal.
Well, it
I,
seems like a steal too, but you also have to take into consideration they didn't buy these independent breweries. These breweries already sold into this collective prior to this, right? So you're not
yeah,
buying this LLC and this incorporation and this one and this one. No, you're buying Canarchy,
yeah,
right? So
yeah.
so basically, and think about it this way too. Cigar City sold to Canarchy for about 60 million. It was either
Okay.
60 or 66 million. There's 6 breweries here. It almost adds up.
Yeah, yeah. If they were all, yeah, okay. It's an interesting thing. I think we're going to see more of the Canarchy type collectives occur. That's what I said years ago when
Mm-hmm.
when Big Beer started buying. I said, you know what, we're going to see more of these collectives where breweries get together regionally and pool their resources, their hops. They get their bigger hop. If
Yep.
they have more breweries, they can get their hops, in bulk, and have a better chance of getting what they need and malt and supplies and distribution. I still think that's going to be a key, but this one kind of hurts that because now this Canarchy just is gone. Right now, it's part of the whatever Monster Corp,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
no longer. I mean, it's no longer independent, right?
it's not, and it's going to be. And I look at this too as it's going to be one of those things too. Could you like what happens in 3 years when AB InBev goes to Monster and goes, "Hey, we'd like to pick you up,"
Yeah, and buys Monster
and they're
and
another
everything.
Ballast
Yeah,
Point, right? They're
yeah,
another
yeah.
$1 billion settlement, or they're another $1 billion acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and I think it's just because we tend to focus on this, and this is kind of the hype as far as craft beer news goes. Uh, we're going to focus on this a little bit, but I think this is, I mean, this is what everybody would want. And when I say everybody, I mean the people that own these businesses. I think that's what everybody would want. That's pretty much what we saw when Cigar City went into the Canarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, here's your $60 million. Everybody gave Joey Redner crap for selling out. And to me, I don't know if everybody would agree, but to me, their beers got better.
Oh, okay.
Their beers got better. I feel the quality of their beer improved. I feel like their I guess their reach, whether it's across the country or whether it's
Mm-hmm.
to the independent beer drinker, I think their reach got so much better. That was a great move for them, and I feel like their beer got it benefited from it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess we'll see what happens when Monster gets a hold of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I feel like Monster, and for lack of a better term, Monster is like the Walmart of energy drinks to me. It
Exactly.
really is. It's just one of those, let's mass produce this thing. Let's pump out as much as we can. And that's going to be it. I don't look at Monster and go, hey, they put quality ingredients into
Yeah.
their product.
Yeah.
But,
No.
as far as an energy drink, what do you consider a quality ingredient?
I don't know. Yeah. It's I don't know.
It's soda
I
with some
don't.
caffeine, with some extra caffeine.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't drink any of that stuff, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
So. Okay, I didn't want to spend too much time on it. I just wanted to, mention that's going on and see. We can now see what ends up happening with it and see how these brands, like maybe get even better than they are, or things start to fall off, or maybe the whole plan is Monster did this to try to make a bigger sale, like step it up to the next big guns and make a profit off of it in the short term.
Well,
Maybe.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be a really cool kind of thing just to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know.
Okay.
I guess only time will tell.
Only time will tell. Okay, so Chris, we got some voicemails. In fact, we got two from Mark Reedy again. He sent one right after we released the recording, and another one right before the show starts. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and cue up Mark Reedy's first voicemail?
What's up, fellas? It's Mark again from Monterey, California. Just had to call and touch base with you after your We Love the D episode. After all, didn't get to listen to it live on Monday night. My bar got kind of busy with the national championship game. So I did listen to it last night, 12 midnight my time, I believe it was, and loved it. But it's a little creepy, guys. I don't know where you get your information from, but nobody ever pronounces my last name correctly unless I tell them, and you did.
Yes.
And how did you know the Confused Therapist? Well, it's my favorite beer. Now, it's yours too, I guess. So, thanks,
Good
guys.
one.
I'm loving all your episodes. I've listened to the barrel-aged episode, I think 179 or something like that, maybe 3 or 4 times. I'm just want to get every bit of information on that, and you guys are awesome. I hope to be hanging around with you guys and you guys hanging around a lot longer so we can keep enjoying it and keep educating me on craft beer. All right, guys, take care. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Nope. Don't need to listen to
Wow,
that.
we got a little.
We
cheers
were
going
gonna
on
listen.
there,
Yeah, we were gonna listen to some Dave Matthews after that. Check that out.
huh?
That's funny.
We got a playlist going, huh?
Yeah, it was just gonna play through my iTunes and just see what pops up.
Yeah. So Chris, you did. So let's just get on with the name, right? I'm horrible with names, and
Mhm.
I'm sensitive to not wanting to mispronounce people's names because I have a name that gets mispronounced all the time. It doesn't bother me, but it could bother other people that have similar names that people don't know how to pronounce. And when I first read it, I was like, it could be Reed, but
Mhm.
I think it's in my past when I've seen that spelling, it was Reedy, so I was going with Reedy myself. But then I didn't have to tell you; you just went right with it. So how did you come up with Reedy when you pronounced it?
Specifically, I don't know.
Hmm.
Um,
Just you just rolled the dice and just went with it.
well, no, I don't know.
Just
There's
figured it
just
out.
been there was just something with pronouncing words
Mm-hmm.
that I guess has always stuck with me since like kindergarten.
Ah.
And personally, I feel like I do a pretty good job with it because there's words in there. I mean, looking at Mark's last name, Rede. I don't know. I just have to go with Reedy because I don't know how you'd pronounce it other than like ready or
It could be
Rede,
ready. It could
right?
be
But there was no
ready.
accent over the
Yeah.
E,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know. There was just something about it. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe we had a client or something with a similar last name and it
yeah.
just stuck.
Yeah. No, we did good. We did good. And his favorite beer is from Dust Bowl is the Confused Therapist,
Yeah.
which was the only one I've had, which I really enjoyed, and you also enjoyed that.
Yeah,
So that's
they were good. I'd love to get a hold of some more of those too. So, I'm glad to hear it was also busy at the bar.
yeah,
That you didn't have time to just sit and just listen to us yammer on
yeah.
Facebook. So,
He in the second email or second voicemail, he talks about the name of the bar that he works at. So we can you want to go ahead and play that one
so
now?
we can stalk him now.
Yeah, we could.
Okay, well, oh crap! I stopped sharing it. Come on.
Oh my gosh,
I
man! Come
know.
on, I thought we were
Start.
professionals.
I know you're gonna start calling me Timmy. All right.
Hey, fellas, it's Mark from Monterey, California, calling again. It's 5 o'clock my time here, and just heading into my bartending job at a place called Salty Seal Brew Pub and Sports Bar. And I'm going to try again to listen tonight. Last week with the national championship game, it didn't go over too well. But I want to let you know I'm sharing sharing this with a lot of people. They love hearing about it, and hopefully they'll all tune in to all of your episodes as well and have a good podcast tonight, and look forward to hear what you guys got to say. I need to know about some breweries that start with letter E. Thanks, guys.
Well, once again, Mark, thank you for listening, and you know what? Even better is I'll tell you what, it really helps when people spread the podcast out to their friends and other people, and of course, working at a sports bar or a brew pub, you have the perfect opportunity to let people know about it. So we really appreciate you doing that, because if you start to talk with your uh, patrons that are coming and drinking, and they start asking questions, and you start answering questions, and then you could it's very easy for you to say, you know what, there's this podcast I listen to that really is, they like to share education about craft beer. You should check them out, and we appreciate that. So
Yeah, you can be the
thank you.
hero.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because you listen to us yammer on about
Hammer
beer.
on. Yeah.
Denny, I got to ask you a question. This is really serious too. So,
Okay.
pay attention to me.
Mm-hmm.
Maryland or Montana? You got to choose one.
Well, that's tough because if I have a few people in Maryland right now that I would love to go visit and see, but if it depends on the context. My first instant is I'd choose Montana. It's beautiful.
There you
It's
go.
mountainous.
Done.
It's
That's the beer I'm gonna drink right now.
some walking. Look
Yeah,
at
some
Rocky
yeah.
Mountains again.
Yeah, Walking
Okay.
Mountains Brewery.
Okay, so now I know why, because you needed to pick a beer.
Well, the
But
other
that's a
one-
tough question because I've got Jim and Tara and Chad all in Maryland that I'd love to go and check out and hang out.
So
But if I had to live somewhere, I think I'd rather live in Montana.
Look,
than
I'd love to check out Montana. We do have a location there, so I mean it's a business expense to do that. But the I have the Mountains Walking Brewery,
Mhm.
but I also have Elder Pine Brewing, which this beer, oh my gosh, this beer has been one of my favorites. It's a coffee dark mild,
Okay, yeah, an English mild.
3.8%.
Yeah.
Super easy to drink. Coffee flavor is just terrific. So I'll get to that maybe a little bit later. But
Nice.
I wasn't sure if I was going to go with this sour ale or this English mild, but I'll go with
So you're going with the sour. So which one is that one?
this one. Is I think I had this one on the show before. It's their seasonal series called Sweets. It's sour ale with blood orange.
Oh,
Let's see if we can get that in there. Blood orange,
Yeah.
toasted coconut, vanilla bean, and lactose. Look at this. We're clocking in at what? 5.5%.
5.5. Yeah.
So that's pretty good for me. It'll keep this nice little buzz going that I got going on. And I'm also checking out the Salty Seal Brew Pub and Sports Bar on Facebook. You can check them out at 653 Cannery Road in Monterey, California. And Saturday, January 29th, they've got Anthony Araya playing at the Salty Seal. Tickets are $10. So
Nice. All right. Well, if you would like to contact the show with your comments or questions, you can reach us through email at taptocraft@gmail.com. Or if you're more a social media person, you can do it on Twitter and Instagram at taptocraft. And of course, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/taptocraft. And we do have our very own Tap to Craft podcast website at taptocraft.com. Okay, Chris, let's continue the conversation because now it is time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
did you give out the phone number?
Oh,
The one that Mark Reedy used?
yeah.
I'll get it.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead and
I'll
get
take
that
care of
me.
it for you.
Yeah.
So
I've
if you
got a
guys,
beer.
yeah, go crack open a beer and take a couple sips. If you want to be able to have us play your voicemails on our show, give us a call at 208-536-3359 and we'll play your voicemail on the show just like we did with Mark. Or if it's easier for you to remember, you can dial 208-53 oddly. Okay, 208-536-3359.
Nice.
So let's move on to what everybody's drinking on Untapped. And if you guys want us to read your check-ins, make sure you follow me, if you can see me on video, raising my hand, on Untapped at MCK1345. That's all in our show notes on our website, guys. If you can't find us, go find us. If you can't find me on Untapped, go find us on social media, and I'll gladly give you my username there so we can read your check-ins. We're going to start out from 9 hours ago with David Martin. He's drinking a Rubus Deliciousus. Let's go with that. Raspberry Wit from New Terrain Brewing Company. 4.25 caps on this one. Nice bold raspberry flavors is the notes that he left for it. I love a raspberry beer that works out very well. And it's a raspberry wit, so that sounds really good together. Let's see. On the next one, we've got the Gnarly Gnome. Always good to hear from him. He's drinking a William Goat by Sonder Brewing at Sonder Brewing, and he writes that this is his first bock of the year, and oh damn, it's good. Big roasty caramel flavor, hits strong, but it follows up with a nice, smooth, drinkable personality that I absolutely crave this time of year. Filling, yet refreshing. Fantastic. No cap rating on that beer. Next, moving up the line, Mr. Kevin Page. What do you think he's drinking, Denny?
A burial.
Nope.
Okay, then Urban Artifact.
Nope. As
Oh.
he's throwing a little curveball to you. Hang on one second.
He's drinking some Dogfish Head.
God, that's really good. He's drinking a Tavern Brawl by Ellipsis Brewing, which is out by him in Orlando. I still have a few of those things left in my fridge because they make some phenomenal stuff too. 4-cap rating on this beer. He writes old school / blast from the past, being a mosaic bomb.
Wait, Mosaic is a blast from the past?
That's one of those like OG hops, right? That's from back in the day.
I don't know if I call it OG. Maybe OG Rev 2.
Okay, Generation X of
Generation
hops.
X, yeah.
Okay.
The Generation X of hops.
Yeah, we'll meet in the middle on that one. All right, let's see. Next on the list, Norman Taylor is drinking a Bud and Mary's by Isla Morada Beer Company. I actually got some beer from these guys in a Christmas gift from my mother-in-law the other day at the Isla Morada Brewery and Distillery in Fort Pierce. I was hoping you were down in the Florida Keys, Norman. But 3 3/4 caps for this beer. No notes on that one. Mike Allen's going to have to have a check-in streak number here soon. He's drinking a Lizard King versus the Cryo by Pipeworks Brewing Company and checking it at his all-favorite location, Taco Mac.
Yeah.
3 3/4 caps for this one. No notes to go along with it, but Jeff Seiler, he's drinking a Wheelie Nelson by
Nice.
Outer Range Brewing Company. And he's drinking it out of what looks like a coffee mug. So he's being classy about it. Jeff, I haven't drank beer out of a coffee mug. Oh, his coffee mug says probably beer on it. And on the can art, it's pretty simple, but really cool. It's a picture of what looks to be Willie Nelson riding a motorcycle and doing a wheelie. But he says super tropical, hazy double IPA, big pineapple notes, and I love pineapple. Who knew that Willie likes to do wheelies? I'm so glad I didn't mess that up. Oh crap. 4 1/4 caps for that beer for Jeff Seiler. And Jeff, let me know where you got that coffee mug because I'd really like to get one. Let's see. Mark Church is drinking a Frö Kolsch by Kölner Hofbrau Frö. Let's go with that. And he says, I love me some Frö. If I pronounce that wrong, let me know. 3 3/4 caps for that beer. Jeff Seiler also checking it. Oh, I like this beer. The Noodle Effect by Drecker Brewing Company. And he gave this one 4 1/2 caps. He wrote delicious and fruity. The noodle effect is the process where an object approaching a black hole is broken down into a long, thin string of particles by gravitational forces, aka spaghettification. Great beer and education. This is one of the labels that I actually made into a magnet that is on my beer fridge right now. That's funny. Continue his check-in streak for the 17,437th show in a row. Mr. Chad Lamassa is drinking an Old Town Lager by Aslan Beer Company, and he wrote subtle but cool artwork. This is a great lager, clean, crisp, and refreshing. 4 1/2 caps for this beer. Let's see, next up on the list. Okay, so now you'll be able to guess. Kevin Page is drinking a Gang of Blades. By who, Denny?
Burial.
You nailed that one. Burial Beer Company out of Asheville, North Carolina. 4 1/4 caps for that beer. Chad, I got to read this one for you too, because this one, I just had this one pretty recently too. He's drinking a Brother Thelonious by North Coast Brewing Company.
Yeah.
And he said, really thought I'd check this one in, but I hadn't. It's a really solid Belgian style dark ale. North Coast makes some great beers. 4 1/2 caps for that beer.
Yeah, he probably did check it in, just untapped, erased it. Just to let you know. I've had problems with that.
You've had the problems. I haven't.
Are you sure? You don't know if you have or not unless you. I mean, I bet a lot of people are having problems. I wouldn't be surprised.
You know what's funny? I actually checked that beer in the 18th of November, 2015. And man, that was back when I did not like Belgians. And
Yeah, it's a good beer.
I tagged you in it too.
I drink that beer. I drink that beer all the time. I never check it in because I've already checked it in, but maybe I should check my check in and make sure it's still checked in.
Mm.
It's one
Yeah,
of the beers I've checked in probably 3 or 4 times because it used to only come in those big giant, 750 milliliter bottles, and I'd buy it and drink it the whole thing and feel pretty good afterwards. And then they
Well,
started
let's
putting
see.
them into smaller bottles too.
So Chad, Craft Beer Joe, John WC, Will D, Daniel Crowder, Cody A, Denny Luce. Here you are. Easing my way into the evening and just a small beer to record with on an empty stomach too. This
Oh,
was
yeah.
August of 2017. You gave it
Okay.
4 caps on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff Weesey checked one in too. Always good anytime. 5 cap rating for Jeff. My buddy Art. Tom Byrne gave it a 4 cap rating. I mean, all kinds of people. David Makazuki got one. Funny enough, David and I, we rated it pretty much the same at 3.5 caps.
Okay.
His was in 2013. Mine was in 15. You also rated it a 4 cap back in 13 too, Denny.
Okay.
Okay. So your check-ins did not disappear.
Good.
Thankfully.
Good.
Next on the list, Bill Schlemmer is drinking a TT by G5 Brewing Company at the State Street Station. Interesting spice notes in a good brown ale. 4 cap rating for that beer. Matt Knight is drinking a Low Crispy by Clown Shoes. Love Clown Shoes. They've kind of disappeared off the map a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Another one from the 12 Beers of Christmas, light, crisp, and crushable. Good beer, but not ideal in this winter weather. Yeah, tell me about it. Like I said, we had frost here this morning. Feel pity for me. 3.5 caps for that beer. And Eric Gronley getting a check-in for his Polar Natterns Paratus by Lupulin Brewing Company. I would drink this here or there. I would drink this beer anywhere. So high on my list of coffee stout beers. It's one of my top 2. I can't say enough good things. Lupulin deserves the recognition. 4 3/4 caps for that beer. And to refresh, that's what everybody's drinking.
Wow, great. It looks like Eric is taking some lessons from Jeff on some creative, beer check-ins.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it
it
too.
I just write my last check-in was it's a little sweet, but I really liked it. 4.5 caps.
It's good.
Yeah, I
5
like
caps.
it. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot.
Okay, so you know what? We're doing a good job of just rambling on and chatting. We're already at 50 minutes into this thing, and we haven't even got to the brew bus yet. So
Here we
let's
are.
make this. We'll make this go a little bit faster, I think. But it is now time for the brew buzz segment, and the brew buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And this week we discuss more information about fooders. And so, as I already mentioned, the last episode, listener Eric Gronley provided the great article about fooders. So now, let's take a closer look at fooders and how they differ from barrels and how brewers can use them to create distinctive American craft beers. And just to remind you of the article, which I will have in the show notes. So if you need to click on it to go read more about it, you can. It's called What is a Fooder? And How to Even Say This Word. And it's articles found on hopculture.com website written by Pete Doolin. So, Chris, I'll go ahead and start off with the first section, and you can read the next section. We'll go section by section.
That'll work.
Good? Okay. So, why use fooders instead of barrels? Barrel aging has become a popular brewing technique in the present-day craft beer industry. And while some of the properties stay the same, old school fooders have distinct advantages over barrels for both the beer making process and the beer itself. For practical purposes, a fooder stores more beer in a smaller footprint, A typical foeder spans at least 3 times larger than a wine or beer barrel, holding usually a minimum of 5 barrels, which is around 160 gallons. But foeders can also be constructed to hold even higher volumes of beer. So rather than racking, uh, okay, so hold on. Rather than racking, managing, and storing numerous barrels, a brewer can use a foeder to save space and time. Additionally, because foeders store a large volume of beer, there's less likelihood of cross contamination from yeast and bacteria compared to barrels. When it comes to the beer itself, a foeder's high ratio of beer to wood allows the beer to more slowly mature and develop. Compared to a barrel, oxygen enters a foeder more slowly. This is called ingress, reducing the rate of oxidation. Plus, when you consider that oxygen acts as a beer's kryptonite, which we know because oxidation causes those off flavors of like cardboard, sherry, um, wet paper. Those are some of the characteristics you get from oxidation. So um, you definitely want to reduce the oxidation of your beer. Most importantly, using a foeder infuses oakiness into the beer with less intensity and at a slower rate. With standard barrel aging, flavor tends to differ with each use of the barrel's spirit or wine character, and tannins leach out of the wood. So basically, as you use those barrels that already have spirits in it, that characteristic you're getting from those spirits, uh, it starts to decrease, right? Because you're removing those spirits from the barrel,
Yep.
and there's only so much of that spirit that's like trapped into the wood, and of course the tannins that are coming out of that wood are changing as well. So as the more and more times you use a barrel that's already been used in spirits, that barrel starts to degrade, and you start to lose the same expected flavoring that you're going to get from it. But with a foeder, you don't have to worry about it. There is no spirits in it. It's usually designed to serve a certain yeast that you're going to be using in there, because once you put that yeast in there, it's not going away, right? You're going to have that sourness or whatever. It's going to be a sour beer. Whatever you put in that,
Forever.
yeah, forever. So that's important to know. So basically, on the other hand, foeders offer more flavor and aroma consistency for a large volume batch of beer. So that is, why brewers would want to use foeders over barrels. You have more volume per footprint. You don't have to worry about maintaining these massive amounts of different barrels and making sure the beers stay consistent from barrel to barrel. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Now, if you want to blend your beers with a lot more different types of barrels, then that might be a benefit to going to the barrel route. But if you're producing massive amounts, the foeder is the way to go. Okay, Chris, why don't you go ahead and hit us with the next section?
So how are foeders constructed? Historically in Europe, I'm just going to go with this word for it. A foodery or foeder maker used French oak, cypress, and other woods to construct foeders. Conversely, today, U.S. manufacturers often opt for an American white oak that's sometimes blended with French oak, depending on the client's specifications. Unlike a cooper, who builds barrels, the foodery makes casks, barrels, and foeders using different techniques. For example, foeders are constructed with a manway or opening that enables access to the tank's interior for cleaning. Is that what that's called, huh?
Mm-hmm.
A manway.
Yeah, a manway. Yeah.
If the brewer chooses to do so, a foeder can be cleaned out more easily than a barrel. Yeah. So again, going along with that, hey, we're doing a little more almost mass produced instead of having to maintain so many little barrels. You can maintain one,
Mm-hmm.
and then that way you don't have to get into each one of them and try to clean them. However, that opening results in shorter staves where the wood must be sawn rather than split, giving the foeder less structural integrity. A foodery considers all these factors during construction, especially with large-scale foeders, because it impacts the oxygen ingress. Foeder crafters in the largest U.S. manufacturer of foeders. Foeder Crafters is the largest U.S. manufacturer of foeders.
I meant to put that like italicized for you.
That's okay.
I forgot to do that. Sorry.
No biggie. I should just learn to read better. Read good. Each foeder takes about 40 hours to build out of Missouri white oak. Foeder Crafters addresses the structural integrity issue by producing finger jointed staves. When fully hydrated, the foeder's finger joints make the barrel airtight. They lock together as a single piece of wood, says Newcomb. Traditionally, foeders and barrels use butt jointed staves, which are flat surfaces held together with pressure.
Yeah. So so this Foeder Crafters, they take it a step further, right? Instead of just having like barrel staves that are just meshed like flat butted together or angle butted, but they're still like wood to wood without a what do they call it,
A joint?
a joint in there. Yeah, finger joint staves. These actually cut out so that they kind of like interlock and really make a solid pressure, better pressure, less leakage. Um, uh, Barrel or container, I guess. That's what I was looking
There
for.
you go.
Container. I'm telling you, these beers are really good. I really like this Fremont Baxter. I didn't realize that each one is 7%. You can't tell they're 7%. These are really easy drinking beers with no alcohol in them. So I'm
Well, just a heads up, you're talking the way I feel right now.
okay.
So.
Okay, good. So this is yeah. So maybe we're gonna make a few more mistakes because
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah. Okay, so all right. So now, do foeders get toasted and charred like oak barrels do for wine? So Foeder Crafters uses oak air dried for at least 2 years. So this oak is like thoroughly dried. You don't want any of that wet, oaky sap stuff in there, right? The oak gets steamed after assembly to extract the tannins and begin hydrating the tank. They they toast or char the interior of the foeders to their customers' specifications, and it's pretty rare that a brewery requests no toast. So yes, they do toast it, but it really depends on what that brewer is wanting to do with that foeder. If they'll toast it more or less depending on the beers that they plan on producing. Oh
All
yeah, I
right. So
forgot to highlight
why
those.
are some foeders? Yeah, I was to say that's got to be bold, right? Why are some foeders built horizontally instead of vertically? I didn't know they did that either. Foeders may be constructed horizontally or vertically, depending on the user's preference and intent. Horizontal foeders are typically used for lagers as there is a shorter distance for the yeast to fall out. Skinnier, longer foeders will have a higher wood surface to beer ratio, so they might impart more oak. The conical bottom foeders are great for clearing for cleaning out fruit or harvesting yeast. Overall, most breweries choose the form factor based on the space they have for the foeder program.
Yeah.
These are getting a lot more customizable than I really even thought of.
Yeah. So, um, again, yeah, foeders. I think typically, I think in the beginning they were laid down on their sides, so you had horizontal surface area. So you had, I think that's how they were originally, I but now with the bigger foeders are putting them vertical. But anytime you have a huge vertical tank, and especially depending on the yeast that you're using, it can really cause the yeast to be um, fatigued, I guess is a good word, where it takes longer for it to interact, and maybe there might be some off characters that might happen with it. So you have to do the right beer in that in that vertical stance. And I think the more sensitive yeast, the lagering yeast especially, work better at that at that horizontal laying down, because you're gonna it has less work. There's less uh it has the yeast have less to get to the top, with bottom fermenting, because the yeast starts in the ferments in the bottom and it has to get all that stuff above it. So the hydraulic pressure is less at the horizontal than it is the vertical. There, I use
That
some
makes sense.
science. Yeah.
Surface area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so what type of beers do brewers make in foeders? Historically, brewers use foeders for mixed culture fermentation beers. Mixed culture fermentation involves using a combination of yeast and bacteria to ferment beer, making them perfect for a foeder. The foeder, the foederer beer, the foeder beer for sours is wood aged and incredibly complex compared to a kettle sour. Aging between 4 months to 1 year, the beer has ample time for this biotransformation to occur and sour. Tiny amounts of oxygen get in through the staves. The culture in the beer creates this environment where it thrives, ages, and produces incredible flavors that cannot be reproduced any other way. So mixed fermentation is the most used by fooders, but you are seeing a lot more clean beers being used, lagers, for example, to gain some of the flavors of the wood staves and such, and a lot more clean beers are being done as well, and saisons. A lot of saisons are done, but again, some of these saisons, I'm guessing they're putting some Brett in there, so again, it's a mixed fermentation culture. So those are some of the beers. Now, um, listed a few beers here, Chris. You want to go through and talk about these beers that people can get around the country?
Good luck. Well, that's a beer that you can get from City Barrel Brewing out of Kansas City, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
An example of a clean beer produced in a foeder. City Barrel brewed this soft lager with Pilsner malt and Saphir and Mosaic hops. Saphir's one I haven't really heard much of either.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, that one's one I haven't had much. I don't
I'm
think.
sure that'll make your list of good or bad hops here pretty soon. La Folie from New Belgium Brewing out of Fort Collins, Colorado, considered one of New Belgium's best sour beer. La Folie spends 3 years in French oak foeders to acidify before being blended. That's insane. That's a long time to be sitting in a container.
Yeah.
Anyway, the brewery describes La Folie as sharp and sour, full of green apple, cherry, and plum skin notes. Yeah.
Yeah, I love
buy
this
that.
beer. I absolutely love this beer. I have more bottles of it than I could even put on my wall because I've drank so much of this. And I, I, I think it's a beer that only gets released was getting released every 2 years. I know it sits in for 3 years, but I think they do a blending where they have multiple years and then every 2 years they blend the multiple years because I think I could swear it was like every 2 years they released a version, but I'll have to go through my beer wall and find out what the dates are.
Well,
To know
those are
exactly.
also those nice screen print bottles that
Yeah,
you love so
yeah.
much too. Let's see. Next on the list is going to be Neck Bones by Firestone Walker Brewing Company out of Paso Robles, California. Fruit forward to the core, Neck Bones started with 3,000 pounds of honey fire nectarines from Fair Hill Farms in Paso Robles.
Hmm.
Firestone Walker added those quartered nectarines. Could you imagine quartering each one of those for
No,
3,000
they
pounds?
must have a machine, right?
Yeah, his name is Steve. Um, and they added those quarter nectarines to a French oak foeder where it met Little Opal, the Barrel Works proprietary breaded saison.
And that's a good beer too by itself.
Okay.
Little Opal, oh yeah, it's good.
I probably wouldn't touch it
Probably
just
not, but it's
because there's Brett and it's a saison.
yeah, but it is so good that I think you'd enjoy it.
No, look, I'm absolutely willing to try it. I really would. After maturing a full year, Neckbones received another 2,000 pounds of fresh nectarine puree
Wow.
from Central California's Wawona Farms. As a result, Neckbones screams juicy stone fruit.
Yeah, I gotta find this beer now. I've never even heard of this beer before I put it on this list. So
Well, okay, so not this one, but Little Opal.
yeah, Little Opal. No, Little Opal's the one that I love. That's a great beer.
Oh, okay, so they made the Little Opal and then they put it in a foeder
Yeah.
with all these nectarines. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Peach Foundation, I'm in. What do you got? City Barrel Brewing Company, again out of Kansas City, Missouri. A golden sour aged in white oak foeder on 4 pounders per gallon of Missouri peaches. Not a big state for peaches that you normally hear of. Peach Foundation stays true to its name. The foundation of peaches provide a fruity, sour bite, while the Foeder aging adds a complementing oakiness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds good, actually.
It does. Anything that has peaches in it, I'm totally for. And last but not least, the Saison de Banquevert from Greenbench Brewing in St. Petersburg, Florida, about 45 minutes that way.
Yeah.
Aged in wine barrels prior to conditioning with Brettanomyces, Saison de Banquevert also ferments in 100% oak, similar to the tradition of the Franco-Belgian style beers.
Yeah, that one sounds interesting as well, but the wine barrel aging kind of worries me a bit. But
Why?
Yeah, because it tends to, it depends on the wine barrel, but it tends to dry it out more, in my opinion, right? And if it gets too dry, it's just like it then starts to affect my teeth and my cheeks.
They get real
Everything
sensitive
becomes
and
so dry, and
Yeah.
I can't. If I talk, my lips stick to the top of my teeth because there's no moisture left in there.
Listen, the beer was just fantastic.
Exactly, that's it.
But it was a
That's
little
exactly
dry.
right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So that's what I I I won't say that I haven't enjoyed some beers that were aged in wine barrels, but wine barrels always scared me because it always, to me in my mindset, it's like, oh, it's going to add that extra dryness to it, and I'm kind of concerned with that. But yeah, so none of these beers I think really like encourage you to try. I don't think, except maybe the peaches one.
Well, I mean, with these two, and I always talk about like La Folie.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried a couple of the ones that New Belgium put out. I am not personally a big fan of them, but because they are so tart and sour, Megan she'll drink these things all day. But to me, it's kind of like, it almost takes the enamel off my teeth. I don't really want to drink a ton of them.
No, you don't want to drink a ton of them, but La Folie, I mean, I don't know. La Folie, I think it does a good job of mellowing out some of that, real acidity. It does have, it is more acidic, but it's not like over the top where you feel like you just drank a bottle of vinegar or anything.
Yeah.
Right? It does a really good job of giving you the flavor and the dryness, but it's not over the top dryness, right? It just stops shy of that craziness. And there's no way I would have drank as many bottles of it as I have if I didn't, and paid the price for them. They're not
Good
cheap
point.
either. They're expensive beers, and it's just one when I see it on the shelf, I just grab it because I just love that beer, and I haven't seen them on the shelf for a long time. So I don't know if it's just not coming to the Boise area, or if they are truly doing it like 3 years now. They're only doing a new batch every 3 years. Before they were doing 2, and now because they can't, maybe in their brewery they can only do it every 3 years. Maybe that's why I haven't seen it as much. Maybe I need to look here shortly and I'll find a bottle on the shelf. But even though I don't drink very many sours nowadays, La Folie is one I will for sure drink. And if I find this neck bones, I'll buy it and drink it because this sounds absolutely delicious. And that little opal, as I mentioned, I know you're not a fan of saisons, you're not a fan of Brett, but I'll tell you what, that little opal was so well done and such a good saison, and the Brett character wasn't too strong and really complemented all the flavors really well. So,
I mean, like I said, I'll absolutely try them.
Yeah.
But the La Folie is available for purchase right now.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
2022 or 21?
Let's see. It's not really giving me too much information on it.
Wow. Maybe they're just not sending it to Boise then. I mean, that's possible.
Well, I mean, it's available for purchase on drizzly.com, which is a
So it's probably
liquor
some.
delivery service.
Okay. Oh well, we'll research it. Cause now I want to see if I can get it. Cause I'll go ahead and I'll buy it for
Well,
sure.
it says find lawfully. It's not around us. I can tell you that much. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's check Boise while you're moving on to the next one. I'll
Okay.
look that
So
up.
well, you know what? We're done, right? We're gonna go to the new noteworthy beers. We're making good time. I think we can get done within the 1.5 hours. But I do have several. I drink a lot of beer since our last recording, and I have a lot of 5 cap ratings that I'm going to be talking off. So I've got a few beers. So I'll start it off. As I hinted at in the beginning of the show, my buddy Alex Fuchs is in town. We have been wanting to go to Ontario, Oregon, which is about 45 miles from Boise. It's in Oregon, on the border of Oregon and Idaho, and they have a place called Bert's Growler Garage. And at Bert's Growler Garage, you can get Great Notion Brewing's beers
Ooh.
that they sell in 16-ounce cans. Now the problem is that these beers that they're selling, because they're such a hot commodity, and they can, supply and demand, they're charging a nice price for them.
Mm-hmm.
$8 for the standard beers, and like $11.50 to $13 for the little heavier duty beers in 16-ounce cans.
Mm.
Those are pretty expensive beers in
Yeah.
our area, especially in that area of Oregon too. But I think because people from Boise come in and buy them out, they know they can get the price, so that they've raised their price a little bit. But we went there to try those, to grab some beers and drink some beers, and so I'm going to talk about a few Great Notion beers here. The first one from Great Notion is called Double Peaches and Cream Shake, and it's a fruited sour. I gave this beer a 5 cap rating. Chris, you know that I'm not a big fan of peach beers, but this one got a 5 cap rating. What I said is, and to in my description here, the reason why I say this is this is not the first Great Notion beer. The first one I had was a bit of a disappointment. It was still a good beer, but it wasn't all like inspiring. Like I just had a massive beergasm, and and that's it. I'm going to heaven. No, it wasn't that great, which it disappointed me. But this is my second Great Notion beer, and here's what I said. Now, this is what I was expecting from a Great Notion beer. Absolutely fantastic, and I normally don't like peaches in beer, but this beer has changed my mind. So smooth, creamy, and tasty. And thanks, Alex, because Alex bought this beer for us to share. And what's nice about this beer, it's super thick. It's a lactose fruited sour milkshake type beer. It tasted like, reason why I liked it so much, it tasted more like peaches and apricots. I love apricots, and it had that thick apricot-y like puree flavor. And this was like a 9%, 9.5% beer, and there's no alcohol flavor in this. I can tell you there's alcohol in it because I was pretty much wasted when I got home, because these beers catch up to you really quick. So it wasn't the case of those 450 North beers that like say they're high octane, but they're all fruit and 2%. These actually have some pretty good kick to them. So
Yeah.
5 cap rating for that one. Have you had that one? I don't think you have.
Not
Chris.
that one specifically, but you know what? I just realized that I haven't checked into one of the beers from them that I had a little while ago, which was their double blueberry shake.
I think I have that one. I have a blueberry shake, Imperial blueberry shake one, and that was a more expensive one, like $11.50 or $13 or whatever. So I'm going to drink that with Alex this week. He's still here this week, and we're going to, share some of the other beers I bought and enjoy. So I'll probably share that with him, get him all wasted before he goes back.
Yeah, that's what a good friend does.
Yeah. So then the second Great Notion beer I wanted to talk about, I only gave this one a 4.5 cap rating. Still fantastic.
Just shy.
But this is called Double Fudge Coconut Brownie. And what I wrote about this is really well balanced with a strong coconut and chocolate flavor. Not too sweet, so the big ABV is not present at all. Really good pastry stout, thanks Alex, and 4.5 cap rating. Now this one tasted like you were, kind of drinking like brownie batter. You know how you get that kind of brownie, powdery
Yeah.
flavor from brownie mix
Mm-hmm.
with coconut, like a coconut, like a brownie coconut thing. And man, it was so good. This was like 10.5%, or maybe this was 12%. Now I can't remember. It was let me check real quick. 11.5%, 11.5% beer, right? But so good that and I gave it a 4.5. I'm not sure why I gave it a 4.5 and not 5. There was something about it that I didn't give it to it. But yeah, and that Peaches one was 9%, just to let you know. Okay, moving on. Then I had another brewery or another beer, a 16-ounce pint I drank. The first beer I had at Birch Growler Garage was from another Portland brewery that I've been wanting to try, but I can't get in our area. It's called Zoiglhaus Brewing. And they focus on German style lagers. And I had their Zoigl-Pils, which is a Zoigl beer, which we talked about Zoigl beers when I first had one a while back. And what surprised me about this beer is that the rating of it was like a 3.8. And I was like, I'm drinking this beer and I'm like, why in the world is this beer a 3.8? This beer is fantastic. And I just couldn't get over the fact that that this beer was rated so low. And so I gave it a 5 cap rating to kind of boost the thing up, because it's a really good German Pils. It really was delicious. So I gave that a 5. What I said about this is great German Pilsner, and I have no idea why the ratings are so low. Going to bump it up with a 5 capper. And then the last beer I'm going to talk about is from Sierra Nevada Brewing. Their Narwhal Imperial Stout.
Always
And
a good one.
I have talked about this beer before because I love this beer, and I just had to. I gave it a 5 cap rating. It doesn't matter how many times I have this. This is always like a perfect example of what I want from an Imperial Stout. I said, love this beer, so damn good with rich, complex flavors and so smooth. 5 cap rating. So there you go, Chris. 3 5 cap ratings and a 4.5 cap rating. So how about you? Did you have any big rated beers?
Well, I'm going to tell you that the closest place that you can find La Folie on tap is going to be at the Tap House.
It's on tap at the Tap House?
It's on tap at the Tap House.
I just want a bottle of it. I don't want to drink it on tap.
I can't find it anywhere in a bottle. Guernica
Okay.
Basque Pub or Hops and Bottles.
Okay, Hops and Bottles. I've never been to Hops and Bottles. I need to go there.
And it
I
was
hear
funny.
They have a very good selection of beers there.
It was good. It was a great kind of search to do it, because it goes, okay, well, look 5 miles out from the zip code. Look 10 miles out from the zip code. And then it goes 26 miles. You're
I'll go 26 miles if I can get
look, outside of those two, you're going to Meridian, and then Nampa is the closest ones after those three. So it's
they
there.
have it on tap, just not in bottles. Maybe they're only sending kegs out now.
Maybe
that's the case.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I have to double check with my buddy Art. Art, if you listen to this, you got any La Folie at your store? So let's talk about a couple of beers that I had.
Yeah.
And the first one is going to be from a brewery right here in the Tampa area called Crooked Thumb, which is in a town of Safety Harbor. Crooked Thumb Brewery, it's called Monkey Business. And it was just Megan and Tina bought this beer in a crowler on one of the nights they went out to go check out some breweries in the area. And they brought this one home. And I was like, okay, fruited sour, no big deal, whatever. It was a banana, what's it called? A banana cream pie Florida Berliner Weiss.
Wow. How was it?
It was delicious.
It was delicious.
It was really good.
Wow.
A little tart, and then the banana flavor, which is one that in beer can be really fake tasting.
Yeah.
It was really good. The tart from the beer worked with the banana very well, and I guess there was some sort of vanilla flavors or something in there, but man, I could have chugged that entire crowler. It
Wow.
was really good. I did give it a 4.25 cap rating, mostly because I didn't get to drink a bunch of it because the girls were drinking it, and I guess since they drove the 35 minutes out there to get it, they can enjoy more of it than I got to. But yeah,
Is Crooked Thumb a fairly new brewery in your area?
No, they've been. I know they've been in the area ever since we've been here, and we're on our 6th year in Tampa now.
Okay.
We just don't ever see a ton of their stuff because I don't know how much distributing they do,
Okay.
and it's probably further than 35 minutes away. But my 35 minutes and your 35 minutes will be a whole different story.
Okay.
Next on the list is going to be from the folks over at Magnanimous Brewing as
Love
a
those guys.
hazy IPA called Before the Rain. Now, these guys put out a beer called Juice Lord, which everybody in the area and a lot of people around the country try to get their hands on. And Juice Lord, it's a great beer, but I get a lot of hop burn from it. Okay. This one's called Before. Yeah, it. But you know what? It's so good. Especially there's a picture on my Instagram of me like standing in the pool, like pouring a can in my mouth. Like it was really good. But the Before the Rain, it was what I really like out of Juice Lord, just with no hop burn. It was just phenomenal beer. And we happen to be in a section of town, Ybor City, which I know I talked to you about a lot. And Magnanimous was at this tap house. Like the brewer, Charlie, he was there. I won a t-shirt from him because, if you buy a beer, you get a raffle ticket. We bought like 7 beers that night between 3 or 4 of us. So we won some things. So we got this beer and I really, really enjoyed it. Great double IPA. I believe it was a hazy IPA, 4.5 caps for this beer. I was at the same tap house Saturday for Arya's birthday. Well, we weren't at the tap house for her birthday, but we were in the area for her birthday. Yeah, she turned 12, so flip it. She's right there. And I almost got it again, but I saw that Magnanimous had a lager on tap there, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try that because I don't feel like drinking a bunch of like super heavy beers or anything. But yeah, Before the Rain from Magnanimous, 4.5 cap rating for that one. It was really easy to drink too. And the last one on my list is going to come from Adroit Theory out of Purcellville, Virginia. Now, this beer came from the good folks over at Tavour. And this was a really interesting beer. And I want to look it up because I want to make sure I get all this in. Let's see. Black Science 7 is what it was called. And it's a cuvee. And cuvee, for those of you that aren't aware, it's just a blend. It's a blend of different beers. And I bought this off of Tavour thinking that it was going to be like a 16-ounce can like what I have here. And it was a 12-ounce can. It looked very much like one of the cans of seltzer. Now, on Untapped, this is labeled as a strong ale. It's clocking in at 14.5%.
Whoa. That's a big, strong ale.
And you know what? I'm really glad that it came in this container, right? A 16-ounce beer, again, this is what, 5.5%? No big deal. You can drink this, not a huge thing. A 15% beer, I'm glad it came in a 12-ounce can and not a 22 or 24-ounce bottle because I would have never been able to finish this one. One, and it would have been great, but you know what? I sat on the couch and I watched. If anyone's familiar with the show Archer, I enjoy that show just because it's just dumb cartoons and it makes me laugh. But it's called Black Science 7 Cuvée. Black Science is an experimental cuvée that blends a Russian Imperial Stout, a barley wine, and a wheat wine, merging roasty stout notes with subtle stone fruit esters. This malty beast is further conditioned on a healthy bed of toasted coconut, cacao nibs, macadamia nuts, Tahitian vanilla, and freshly roasted coffee beans. There was a lot going on in this beer. And initially you taste it and you get this You get that roastiness of the Imperial Stout, and then it really quickly turns into this wheat wine, barley wine sweetness, and kind of those caramel notes and those stone fruits. And it was really, really sweet. Not like Angry Chair sweet, but it was still up there. And like I said, had this been in a different container, there'd have been no way. 12 ounces was plenty for what I wanted. But I gave this one a 4.5 cap rating. Didn't make it to 5 just because it was so sweet. It really was.
Do you think the coffee I was thinking as you're going through all the ingredients, I'm like, enhances sweetness, because the beers are the Russian Imperial Stout will give you some of the bitterness,
right?
But the wheat wine is going to be on a sweeter side, and the barley wine is going to be on a sweeter side. So there's 2 sweetness to 1/3, and then I'm like, okay, then you start adding vanilla, blah 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 blah, and then you got to the coffee. I'm like, okay, there it is. There's the thing that can balance this out, but it wasn't enough to totally remove the sweetness, right?
No, because it tasted like it was more of like a lighter roast on the coffee. The coffee flavor was definitely there, but there wasn't any roast from the coffee. You could tell it was all from that Imperial Stout. And it really didn't seem too heavy leaning on that Imperial Stout. Because I think had they gone that way, it could have been a totally different beer, but as one of my favorite sayings goes, it was still delicious. But one of my favorite sayings is there's only one way to find out. So, I mean, put out a beer like this. So this was Black Science 7. Let's see what Black Science 8 looks like, or adjust the blending.
Yeah, maybe it's the master blend.
Yeah, but look, it was still really good. I mean, you could taste all those different things in it. And I really enjoyed it. But again, I'm glad it only came in a 12-ounce can and not a big bomber.
Oh, good.
Because not only would it have been too overwhelming to drink, I'm sure it would have been just stupid expensive.
Yeah, of course. It probably already was stupid expensive at the 12-ounce can.
It was. I've had a reality check recently going, maybe we need to back off on beers a little bit.
Yeah. I spent $65 for a few beers at Growler Garage, but again, I'm not going there every week, right? It's the first time I've ever gone, and I wanted to try some Great Notion, right?
Absolutely.
And I got some Freem beers that I can't get locally either. So
hey, me too.
Oh, did you? Okay. Which one? I just drank the coconut stout last night. It was really good. But if you have a coconut stout, make sure you warm it up, because it's way better warmer than colder, because you don't get the flavors if it's cold.
Okay. No, I know I've got a barrel-aged barley wine from them, and I have something else from them. I have 2 beers from them that I just haven't gotten into yet, but
okay.
I always love their
have
stuff.
a Mexican chocolate milk stout as well.
The bourbon barrel-aged barley wine and a rum barrel-aged porter.
Oh, okay. Those weren't offered, so good. Well, enjoy those. Freem is fantastic. I love that brewery. Okay, Chris, you know what? It is time to roll this show off to bed. But before we do that, we always want to give a chance to raise a glass to anyone we'd like to raise a glass to. So who would you like to raise a glass to tonight?
So we started talking a little bit about this a minute ago. I'd love to raise this is empty. So a non-alcoholic glass to our daughter, Aria. She turned 12 years old on the 21st, and it's been a crazy, just kind of birthday week for her. So it's just the girls went and did pottery in Ybor. They were painting pottery and had a birthday party here at the house, and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I think it's finally died down now that the weekend's over. Birthday week is over, but happy birthday.
Yeah, happy
12
birthday,
years old. So
12. Yeah,
cheers
you're
to
almost
you.
a teenager. Damn.
I know.
Enjoy
Well,
while you can.
she's already there. I just want to love her so much. Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to this evening?
Well, first off, I always like to raise a glass to one of our Patreon supporters. And this week it goes out to Tara Carlson. Thank you, Tara, for your support. And we miss you on our live shows. You and Jim haven't been on the last couple. So
They're probably watching The Bachelor.
Probably watching The Bachelor. That's
Yeah,
probably right.
that's probably it.
And then, of course, I've got to raise my glass to my buddy Alex Fuchs, who is my favorite beer drinking buddy right now. We get together every month, and he's coming like almost every month. He's coming to back from Israel to just to come drink with me.
Wow.
I think.
Yeah, he's like, work happens, but I'm here
Yeah,
to drink
so
with you.
it's really good. So I really appreciate that. So I got to raise my glass to him. And at this point, well, no, I'm going to do one more. I'll do my my toast to the to all the military men and women out there because you know I was a serviceman. I served for 8 years, and I know that a lot of times that goes unappreciated. So I always want to raise my glass to all those who are serving the U.S. military services or who have served, protecting our freedoms. Cheers to you, and I hope you guys can return home safely to your families very soon. But now I'll talk about what I wanted to say. So we're going to bypass sponsor mention again this week or this show because we're still having some issues. Hopefully, we'll get worked out real soon. But on a second side note, I want to mention that Chris and I, for the next episode, we will be doing a special episode talking about we'll do beer tasting notes with Lagunitas Unrefined Sugar beer. I know that it's probably gone in most areas that did have it, but if you can find unrefined sugar and get a bottle of it, we will be doing tasting notes on that. We were approached by a person who works for the company that supplied the sugar for that beer, and they asked if we would do a review of the beer and the sugar used in the beer because they want to try to promote their brand and of course the beer. And I've already I told them that, you know, I already kind of gave an informal, not really a review of the beer, but my statement on how it's different from the brown sugar that was the original. But I would be glad if they wanted to do that. I'd be happy to research and find out more about this special raw sugar that they're using, and do a more detailed tasting note segment with Chris if they would send us the examples. And they did. They sent us the stuff. Chris just got his today, but it wasn't enough time to go ahead and put that into the show. And plus, I already had this show built. So for our next episode, Lagunitas Unrefined Sugar. If you can find it, grab a bottle, taste along with us. And we will also be talking about Dolce raw sugar from Now I'm going to mess it up because I didn't write anything down, but you know, I don't know if it's organic. It's
It is organic. Yep,
it
it's
organic?
absolutely.
Okay,
So
good.
I was reading that today. It is organic. He did email us today and make sure that the packages came into to both of us.
I need to check my email.
And then I actually, well, as you said, you and Sarah were using it for a couple of things. I actually put it on. We made some roasted sweet potatoes tonight. I put it on some sweet potatoes tonight for dinner. It was really good.
Yeah.
Even out of just the package, I really do enjoy it. And we'll get into that next episode.
Yeah. So be prepared for a show that's going to talk it'll be a little bit different. We're going to talk about beer. It's definitely going to be beer oriented, but we're also going to do a little bit of ingredients that go into some beer. So stay tuned for that. We look forward to sharing that with you and giving our honest review of the beer and the sugar.
I feel like
I
was gonna say I feel like I need to go get some brown sugar too, just you know, for the sake of research.
Well, they didn't make brown sugar. That's why the unrefined sugar took its place, which is fine. But I will say that Sarah and I have also been using the sugar because we got my package before Chris, and we only use raw sugar unless we're doing a special like when I made the. Did I use raw sugar? I don't think I did. Did I even put sugars in the cookies? We rarely use anything but raw sugar when we cook, and I don't use a lot of sugar in anything. I don't sweeten anything, but I did open it and I did taste it and I enjoyed the taste, and we did use it into. I did have some strawberry French toast this weekend, and I did use it in the strawberry to kind of sweeten the strawberries up a little, and it really did add a nice flavor addition to that. So we'll be using it a little bit more in the next couple weeks, so we can give you guys an idea if this is something you guys might want to try on your own. Okay, Chris. Um, let's see. I guess it's time to close the show out. So
Yeah.
you can find the beers and the links to the articles mentioned in the show in the show notes located on the show post at tapthecraft.com. And if you'd like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped at Loose Screw. And of course, Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
So never on Twitter at Chris_McKenzie82 unless you're a company that I want to, talk poorly about, or I just need something from. You guys, they tend to answer so quickly on Twitter. Or you can always find me on Untapped and Instagram at MCK1345. And guys, you can always interact with us on everything social at Tap the Craft.
That's right. All right. It is last call. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading, listening, and we ask you to please tell a friend or tell your coworkers or tell the business people that come in to serve you about our podcast. We love to have all the new listeners. And you can listen and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And just as a reminder, we release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.